Well, hey there, idiots. Welcome back to Observe. In today's video, we're going to be analyzing the nonverbal communication of Russell Brand in regards to some allegations that have been brought up from his past. He's made a video on that. More on that in just a second. Let's go ahead and roll the intro first. Thousands of companies are silently collecting, trading, and selling your data, your personal data, online. Your email, home address, even your shopping habits, they have all of that information and more. The number of times that I personally have signed up for some newsletter or searched for medical advice and suddenly had my email inundated with tons of unwanted ads is ridiculous. That brings us to today's sponsor, Incogni. Incogni is a unique service that takes the challenge of keeping your personal data safe head-on and helps you to reclaim your privacy. Setting up my Incogni account was just a breeze. I just told them what information I wanted them to protect about myself, and they jumped right into action. I've always been skeptical of these sorts of online services, but the transparency and progress updates from Incogni have won me over. Just to give you a little bit more context, after registering for a store's loyalty card, I started receiving copious quantities of unwanted emails and mysterious phone calls. However, Incogni has been working around the clock to be able to have my data removed from such broker lists. Here's the best part, however. For the viewers here on Observe, Incogni is offering an exclusive 60% off their annual plan. Just go to incogni.com/observe and use the code OBSERVE at checkout. This isn't just about stopping some spammy emails, it's about regaining control over your personal information. And if you, like me, have ever felt overwhelmed by how truly exposed data is online, Incogni is the way to go. So don't miss out. Go ahead and check the link in the description of this video and use the code OBSERVE. Be able to get 60% off the annual plan. Thanks again to Incogni for sponsoring this video, and back to our regularly scheduled programming. All right, for those of you who are unaware of the situation of the person at hand, Russell Brand, best known for his roles in movies like Forgetting Sarah Marshall and Arthur, faces accusations from 4 women alleging sexual assault. The alleged incidents span from 2006 to 2013. Following these allegations, Russell Brand postponed the remaining dates of his Bipolarization tour in the UK. The decision was announced by the Theatre Royal Windsor, where he was due to perform. In a video statement posted on his YouTube channel, Brand vehemently denied what he termed were serious criminal allegations. He stressed that his past relationships were always consensual. 3 British news organizations, the Times of London, the Sunday Times of London, and Dispatches, a TV program, jointly published the investigation. Following the revelations, more women have reportedly reached out to the Times with additional accusations against Brand. These allegations have led to a distancing from various industry groups and personalities. Bluebird, Brand's publisher, has paused its collaboration, postponing the release of his upcoming book on addiction recovery. Similarly, talent agency Tavistock Wood dropped Brand, stating that they had been horribly misled. London's Metropolitan Police confirmed receiving a report of sexual assault alleged to have occurred in 2003 in Soho, central London. While they didn't specifically link this to Brand, the timing and the reference suggests a connection to the recent media investigation. Max Blaine, spokesperson for the Prime Minister, expressed deep concern over the claims. Carolyn Noakes, the chair of the House of Commons Women and Equalities Committee, emphasized the necessity of a criminal investigation into the allegations, highlighting the need for accountability. This isn't Brand's first controversial episode. He faced suspension from the BBC in 2008 after a number of inappropriate prank calls. In the wake of public outcry, he resigned from his radio show. Recent years have seen Brand move from mainstream media to build an online following known for sharing controversial views, including COVID-19 conspiracy theories. The allegations against Brand have sparked debates surrounding lad culture in Britain during the late 1990s and early 2000s. There are questions regarding the extent to which Brand's fame shielded him from scrutiny. Some supporters, on the other hand, question the timing of these allegations, suggesting ulterior motives due to Brand's newfound status as an online influencer. The women behind these accusations have mentioned that they felt ready to tell their stories only after journalists approached them. The rise of Brand as an online wellness influencer also played a role in their decision. British little laws, which necessitate that those making allegations bear the burden of proof, can also be a factor for delayed reporting. The Brand incident has shed light on the inherent issues within the UK's comedy industry. Despite strides made by women and other groups, the presence of these issues is still undeniable. Ellie Tomsett, an academic at Birmingham City University, suggests that while there's been an attempt to curb these issues, there has also been a surge in those very same problems within society and the comedy scene. The allegations against Russell Brand have sent shockwaves through the entertainment industry and ignited national debates on gender, power, and accountability. As the story unfolds, it remains to be seen how it will impact Brand's career and the broader comedy entertainment landscape. As I mentioned before, today we're going to be analyzing the nonverbal communication that he displays in his response to these allegations. It's a short video. Let's go ahead and dive right in.
Hello there, you Awakening Wonders. Now, this isn't the usual type of video we make on this channel where we critique, attack, and undermine the news in all its corruption, because in this story, I am the news. I'm
going to go ahead and pause here. So something that I'm already noticing about his nonverbal communication. Set-wise, looks like his normal set. No big deal there. He is wearing white clothing. There is the possibility of trying to whitewash and seem more pure in that area. However, it also has some dragonfly styles on it, so it's not necessarily just a pure whitewashing attempt. Nevertheless, want to make note of those. Now, non-verbally speaking, what I'm noticing is that he's keeping his arms very high up here and doing synchronized gestures on both sides of his body as he's talking, and both of them usually at the same time in very similar positions. Now, I went through and I analyzed his nonverbal communication in a number of his other videos as well to be able to help establish some baseline and understanding who he is, and I realized that during his times of scripted portions of his shows is when this synchronized, balanced, and kind of awkward nonverbal communication comes out as he's talking like this. So seeing that come in here, I'm already starting to suspect that this might be scripted. Now, he's not speaking in such a way that sounds like it's scripted, so perhaps he's pretty okay using a teleprompter, or he has memorized something along those lines. Nevertheless, his nonverbal communication is pushing me to believe that, according to his baseline, he might actually be going through and scripting this. Let's keep watching.
News. I've received two extremely disturbing letters, or a letter and an email, one from a mainstream media TV company, one from a newspaper, listing a litany of extremely egregious and aggressive attacks, as well as some pretty...
Again, very awkward nonverbal communication. A lot of palms forward. A palms forward is usually a defensive gesture. Any sort of thing that they have to defend, you'll see that come out in these palms forward. So these are very, very prevalent. However, he's not just using them in these areas of defensiveness. He's also using them as illustrators, like of a letter and an email, and he's looking at the two different ones. However, we're still seeing these indicators that this is possibly scripted, and we're seeing a decent level of defensiveness in that as well. So along with that, the synchronization of the nonverbal tells themselves seem to be flowing with his words fairly well, which that can be an indicator of authenticity. At very least, it's an indicator of somebody who's used to communicating either to a camera or in front of crowds, something along those lines. So we're getting all this information so far. Let's just keep watching through.
There's some pretty stupid stuff, like my community festival should be stopped, that I shouldn't be able to attack mainstream media narratives on this channel. But amidst this...
I'm going to go ahead and pause there as he's listing these things. You can see a little micro nose shake. That is in synchronization with what he's saying there, that his show should be canceled, that he shouldn't be able to do this thing. And so you see that nose shake coming in there as he's listing things off. That point of synchronization is good for us to be able to make note of in case of in the future we see something that's desynchronized from that point. Perhaps we'll see a head shake where there's an affirmative being given, or even the vice versa, an affirmative nod while there's a negative being given. Something along those lines, but we're able to make note of that here. Let's keep watching.
This litany of astonishing, rather baroque attacks are some very serious allegations that I absolutely refute.
This is all extremely intentional nonverbal communication. It's also lightly desynchronized as he's trying to use specific hand gestures in various ways. They're not flowing with what his words are actually communicating. So he's being very intentional with his nonverbal communication. And it seems as though if there's anything, if he's received any training nonverbally from this, what he's probably been advised to do is to keep open body language, which that means palms facing forwards or up and keeping your torso clear and clean so that people don't feel like they're being blocked off, and making sure that he has an open expression on his face and things like that. Those are all things that can be coached nonverbally. And what you have to pay attention to is whether or not they're flowing seamlessly and naturally, as if he's just communicating, or if it is something that has been coached in. I'm feeling like this has been coached in, whether or not it was intentionally done or he just did some research himself to be able to do so. It's feeling a little bit desynchronized, which, again, we're already feeling that this is scripted. We're seeing some desynchronization points. Now, in regards to the actual allegations, let's just keep watching.
These allegations pertain to the time when I was working in the mainstream, when I was in the newspapers all the time, when I was in the movies, and as I've written about extensively in my books, I was very, very promiscuous. Now, during that time of promiscuity, the relationships I had were absolutely always consensual. I was always...
Okay, there's a cut there, and also we're hearing some things like absolutely and always. He's really trying to hammer this home. He brought out the pointer fingers a couple times, which if you're here on the channel, you know pointer finger is a dominating gesture. However, the dual pointer fingers is not common. Again, we're seeing this synchronized, and not synchronized, but what's the word? Not synchronized. And again, we're seeing this nonverbal communication with gestures on both sides of the body in the same exact way. It's very fascinating. It's very rare to see those mirroring gestures exactly like that unless it is being coached. So we're seeing these number of different things that are coming in here. It's very fascinating. He is also right now already calling light to his past and how he used to handle his interpersonal relationships, which is an indicator of authenticity. If a person's willing to be able to call light to some of their flaws, then that lets you know that they have less to hide. So he's not trying to paint this like I'm a perfectly white knight in shining armor kind of thing, but he is trying to present various characteristics of himself in this way that still completely washes him clean of what he's being accused of here. It is fascinating. Let's keep watching.
I was always transparent about that then, almost too transparent. And I'm being transparent about it now as well.
Okay, so this part is very interesting to me. He says, I was always transparent about that then. And he has a little bit of a grimace come across his face here, causing perhaps some agitation, some pain in there. And then we're also seeing the micro shakes no in there as well. So as he's saying that I was always transparent about that, and we're seeing these nonverbal tells, that kind of pushes me to believe that perhaps there were some areas that he was not fully transparent with. And there's the possibility that these allegations can actually be nestled in these little areas that he himself perhaps might not be divulging to the public right now, as we're just seeing from his nonverbal communication. And then he's continuing forward, and I'm still being transparent now is what he says, and he still continues to have the little micro no shakes in there. So that is a red flag to me. Perhaps there is something else that Brand is not divulging to us right now, or there's something that he doesn't have the liberty to divulge. However, we're going to go ahead and keep going through this.
And to see that transparency metastasized into something criminal that I absolutely deny makes me question, is there another agenda at play? Particularly when we've seen coordinated media attacks.
Okay, we're going to go ahead and pause here. Absolutely deny. He's used this absolutely deny, that phrasing of absolutely multiple times. Again, this is reinforcing this point, which we get that he's trying to drive a point home that he's innocent in these areas, but that repeat usage of words in there is still a red flag to me as well. And now he's doing something that I do find interesting. It's not necessarily a red flag and then saying that he's deceitful, but he is also now trying to divert a level of attention from what he's saying to some of the circumstances around him, being like, oh, I deny these, but let's instead focus on why these things might be happening, why these things might be pointed my direction, things like that. Now, that is technically also a good idea, to observe everything in context and to make sure that you understand the situation before just casting a judgment. But I do find it very interesting that in his addressing of these allegations that he does try to divert that attention away from himself. Fascinating. Let's keep watching.
Attacks before, like with Joe Rogan when he dared to take a medicine that the mainstream media didn't approve of, and we saw a spate of headlines from media outlets across the world using the same language. I'm aware that you guys have been saying in the comments for a while, watch out Russell, they're coming for you, you're getting too close to the truth, Russell Brand did not kill himself. I know that a year ago there was a spate of articles, Russell Brand's a conspiracy theorist, Russell Brand's right wing. I'm aware of news media making phone calls.
Gonna go ahead and pause it here. He's now packing in all of these other instances, so this isn't the only instance that he's gone through. There's been many instances, and he's trying to play the numbers game on this to where this isn't my first rodeo of being slandered in the media is more or less what he's saying. So why is this one any different is the implications that he's trying to pull forward from this. And obviously the implications are different because of the accusations and allegations themselves. but he is still trying to play this like, well, look at all the other things that have gone wrong for myself and like other people too. It's obviously somebody else's plan to have some sort of negative story on him. That's what he's presenting so far, non-verbally and verbally. Let's keep watching.
Phone calls, sending letters to people I know for ages and ages. It's been clear to me, or at least it feels to me, like there's a serious and concerted agenda to control these kind of spaces and these kind of voices. And
while he's saying it's being clear, or it seems clear to me, you could see him starting to hunch up a little bit. That's defensiveness as well. Could be a partial shrug, which that couldn't be an indicator of insincerity or insecurity while he's talking as well. But we're seeing that come up as he's saying it's being made clear. So perhaps it's not being as clear as he thinks, or there's something else that is causing him a little bit of difficulty while he's speaking about those things as well, as we're seeing that come up in his defensive nonverbal communication. Let's keep watching.
And I mean my voice along with your voice. I don't mind them using my books and my stand-up to talk about my promiscuous consensual conduct in the past. What I seriously refute are these very, very serious criminal allegations. Also, it's worth mentioning that there are witnesses whose evidence directly contradicts the narrative.
So I am going to make note, there are some cuts in here, and I find where the cuts that he has placed, where they're located in regards to what he's saying. And it always seems to be centered around these criminal allegations, as if he says something about it and then has to cut and make an adjustment there. So what is happening in that blank space where that cut would have been is something that's curious to me. The fact that it's been removed is also curious to me. Perhaps he says something else that doesn't really line up with what he's saying. Maybe he has some pauses and hesitations or something along those lines. That could be an indicator of psychological processing or difficulty around these. Regardless, seeing those cuts right in line with these fairly controversial areas is a low-level red flag for me. It's a very controlled presentation of what he's trying to present here, and we're just understanding a little bit more about this. Let's keep watching.
The narratives that these two mainstream media outlets are trying to construct, apparently in what seems to me to be a coordinated attack. Now, I don't want to get into this any further because of the serious nature of the allegations, but I feel like I'm being attacked, and plainly they are working.
Again, because of the serious nature of the allegations, and another cut. And we're having some vocal difficulties in here as he's talking, and he's doing some pretty prevalent hands-forward gestures again with this. More and more distance between him and whoever he's talking about. So there's a level of defensiveness in there. And then we're still seeing these kind of low-level suspicious cuts right around these hot points in his dialogue here. Fascinating so far. We've only got a few seconds. Let's go ahead and wrap this up.
Plainly, they are working very closely together. We are obviously going to look into this matter because it's very, very serious. In the meantime, I want you to stay close, stay awake, but more important than any of that, if you can, please stay free.
Okay, so that probably is his little tagline of which he wraps up his videos fairly regularly. I do have to give him credit for the fact that he does encourage people to stay awake, stay close, to pay attention, do their research. So as far as what I saw non-verbally from this, there's a lot of defensiveness. It's very coached, it's very stilted. There are areas where I feel, if not the entire thing that was scripted, we're seeing cuts in odd and rather controversial areas that could have had more information to them that would have been pertinent. We're seeing a number of things, right? So with this, I have a level of suspicion, personally. I think that it is good that light is being brought to this and that more has to be dug into this. I think that it is a very important subject, especially people in power being able to just kind of use that power as a shield to do whatever they want to and get away with it. It's not okay. And so this is at very least bringing light to that, and I think that's important. And especially in regards to the allegations that are being brought up, they're very serious, and I think that they always deserve to have as much due diligence put towards them as possible. And from what I'm seeing, I'm a little bit suspicious that perhaps Russell Brand isn't telling us everything. So that's what I'm thinking on this so far. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. If there's something that I've missed, maybe there's an extra story, there's some more allegations, something along those lines that could add some context to this. Yep, just fill me in the comments below that. If you do have any requests for other videos, obviously comments, social media, everything is open for you to be able to work with. I have opened up the memberships on my channel, and if you would like to be able to go and support those, sometimes I hold little polls over there or put some posts up and some more extra interaction on there. Plus, you also get some badges and things like that for your name, and you get to support the channel a little bit more if you so please. And if you do, thank you in advance. But But without further ado, that's all I've got for the day. My name is Logan, and you have been oh so awesome as you always are. And I will see you in the next video. Cheers, guys.